Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of Bengal Magazine, and on the show we're going to lead off with the athletics director, Jerry Boyce, and a terrific renovation of Houston Gym. He's going to give us a little progress report on that. We're going to go into cross country and Dustin Dimit, the head coach. Dustin's bringing along Sabrina Brooks, his outstanding freshman, and then finally we're going to talk a little V-ball. Volleyball is in the studio. Maria DePeters, head coach, along with Chelsea Moore from Kenmore. So stay tuned, we'll be right back with Jerry Boyce. Everybody, welcome back to Bengal Magazine. Let's not talk about a sport, let's talk about a building and Houston Gym. Many of you are familiar with Houston Gym. It's been around for about 50 years on the campus. And guess what? It's doing a little facelifting. The state of New York has generously offered some money to do a renovation of Houston Gym. And Jerry Boyce, the athletic director, is joining us to talk about that. And boss, we've been through a number of architectural meetings. The coaches have gotten involved, and it's getting closer and closer, and we've been talking about this on shows, so why don't you give us a little progress report?
Well, it's very exciting, Tom, where we have come in the last, I would say 10 months in meeting with the design architects and putting together the floor plans, I guess I would say, of Houston Gym. And right now, it really is, as we entered into it, to one, fit the needs of our athletic programs and coaches for the student athletes, and also to have a facility so that when we're not here anymore and our people who replace us come in, that they're very happy with Correct. The building. You did mention it's over 50 years old, and it was built in the 60s for that time. A lot has happened in 50 years. So very anxious to see this to its fruition, and the student athletes, I think, and what I think will happen is the people that were before us that know Houston, when they come in, they won't recognize Houston Gym. And that's a real good thing.
Isn't it amazing, and you're a former student athlete at Ithaca, isn't it amazing how things have changed in terms of how a facility like that is built now and how it's used? Back 50 years ago, it was a perfect building for what was going on, and now the evolution of college athletics has changed how these buildings are created and what they're used for. And I think the renovation will really prove that out, with locker rooms on the same floor instead of two different floors, offices all together, et cetera, et cetera.
Very much so. One of the things that you want to see in any type of a building is the flow. And for student athletes to come in, and where they go first to get their equipment and clothing, and then training room, and then locker room, it is a kind of a continuum, as opposed to now where it's all over the place.
Right.
So and the biggest thing that it accomplishes in this project is that each one of our sports now will have a designated locker room.
Correct.
Where in the past everybody shared. So they'll have their home, and it will be built so that they can meet in those locker rooms as well, because they will kind of, in today's world of technology, become smart classrooms types of things. So it really is neat.
It is kind of a home away from home for these student athletes, and that kind of leads us into the next question, not so much a question but a comment. How great this is in terms of recruiting too. I mean, here will be a brand new building in a couple years that our coaches can show and say, here is your locker room, here is your team meeting room, this is where we'll be from now on.
At the college level, Tom, and we've talked about this before, recruiting is where it's all at. And it's not just in athletics, because it is recruiting for the campus. When student athletes come on campus today, facilities are paramount.
Right.
When I was going to college, that was not in the back of our minds. Today it's in the back of the minds of those student athletes and their parents and students. And what is going on our campus right now, a bit of a transformation. with the new science and math building, the new technology building coming on, the new dorm. All of those things are recruiting, and it helps us recruiting. Now, in this list of things, Houston Gym is finally on the board to be renovated. So to bring student athletes in and show them, so that now we don't right now in Houston Gym, we stick out like the sore thumb because everyone else has better facilities.
Correct.
So it's a tough sell.
I think you mentioned something too that, maybe you can speak to this, that our coaches go out and recruit a lot of student athletes, and some of those student athletes do not end up being a student athlete, but end up at Buffalo State. So they could be seeing this brand new facility, and while they might not decide to come for our soccer team or volleyball or whatever, maybe they do decide, wow, what a great fitness center, what a great recreation intramural area we have here, and by the way, I'm majoring in biology and I love to come here. So
Correct.
We're touching a lot of students out in Western New York and wherever who might not come as a student athlete but still come to Buffalo State as a
Absolutely,
student.
Tom. That's the recruitment part. Statistics are one thing, but our coaches will bring in close to 600 kids on recruiting visits.
Wow.
And not all of them will come and play the sport, but they choose to come because they came to Buffalo State College and got a feel for Buffalo State. And today, first impressions are probably more important than ever. And the first impressions are one, people, and two, facilities.
Right.
So that is the backbone of recruiting.
And I was remiss in not asking you this. What is now the timetable on the renovation project from start to finish?
Well, we hope that we're getting close now to where the design phase, I think, will be agreed upon. So we hope that in this process, that if it stays with the current timetable, construction could start as early as this summer. I say could. It might be summer, it might be early fall. Once they do start construction, they tell us anyways that it's about a 2-year time frame for it to be completed. So we'll be out of Houston Gym completely for 2 years whenever that construction starts, and we certainly hope it starts this summer.
That would be fabulous.
And there will be some challenges for the staff, being out of Houston Gym for 2 years, but we'll overcome any challenges.
There's a great light at the end of the tunnel there, though.
That's right.
We've got about a minute and a half left in this segment, and there's a very prestigious event, probably our most prestigious event in athletics, and that's the Athletics Hall of Fame, October 1, Saturday, at 4:30 at the Sports Arena. And call my office if you'd like tickets, 878-6514. Monique Hanks, Tammy Thuman, Justin Muse, Gina Monaco, and Dr. Tom Scanlon in the honorary category will all be inducted. Tell us a little bit about Dr. Tom, if you can, in about a minute or a minute and a half. He's been around for a long time. You've been around for a long time, even though you look 39, Jerry. Why don't you give us a little insight onto Dr. Tom?
Well, first of all, Tom, the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, as you stated, is really the most important event that we do each year to honor these great former student athletes here at Buffalo State College, and to give back to them a little bit for all the giving that they gave to Buffalo State during their career. Dr. Scanlon has been involved with us since 1981 when the football program first started. So to have Tom there and his presence on the sidelines and at basketball games and things of that nature has just kind of I guess it's a comfort level, you might say.
Sure, absolutely.
And anybody who knows Tom knows he's got that great bedside manner, if you will. So it's great to have someone like that, and it's even better for us to be able to recognize Tom's involvement with our athletics program and Buffalo State College for all those years.
Yeah, in fact, I saw him on the sidelines at the game last Saturday, and he asked about my tendonitis, and He looked at me and the way he can look at you and said, stay off it. Absolutely, why wouldn't I? Jerry, thanks so much for being on the show and for the progress report on the Houston Gym renovation. We are going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to do a little running and cross country with Dustin Dimit. Stay with us. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Bengal Magazine, and we are going to talk cross country now. And Dustin Dimit, the head coach for the Bengals, is on board along with Sabrina Brooks. And welcome. First time on the show, so as we always do, a couple meets in, why don't you give us a little progress report and overview of your teams?
Okay. Overall, we have a pretty young team, mainly freshmen, sophomores. I believe we have 5 juniors or seniors on the team out of 19 men, and 1 junior or senior out of our 9 women. So 5 freshman women. Definitely kind of a rebirth of the program and changing the mindset and everything since I came in.
Okay.
And so far, we've had a lot of success this year. Sabrina was 3rd at Penn State Barron recently and ran 19:12, which is actually faster than our school record on the track in the 5K.
Oh.
So she's on pace to do big things this year.
Must be the coaching.
It's the coaching.
And the hard work. And our men's team has started off really well. We had 3 guys break 27 at our last meet, and we've had nobody break 27 in probably the last 4 or 5 years. So that was a big deal to do that this early.
I think that is a big deal. And let's just talk about the Penn State Barron meet. The men took 1st, the women took 6th, and this young lady was 3rd overall with a time of 19:12 in 5K. Tell me about your race down there. Was it the kind of race you thought you were going to run, or were there little things that cropped up that you weren't, or whatever?
Well, I wanted to win the race, but that didn't really actually end up happening. So at the end, I was kind of upset when I crossed the finish line, but then I heard my time, so it made me a little happier.
So it's a season best, correct?
Yeah.
At 19:12. Is she on course where she needs to be right now at this time of the season?
Yeah, definitely. She's ahead of where she was last year when she ran in the 18:30s and broke 18:30 once, and she's running faster at this point of the season. The way we do our training, we don't really care about our times or finishes at the beginning of the year, because in cross country, unlike other sports, the only thing that matters is our championship meets.
Okay.
Nothing that we do at the beginning of the season affects our SUNY finish or our regional finish. So all our training set up to race the best at the SUNY championships and at the NCAA regional.
Kind of like a build up, but in this case, it's a build down, less time. But you mentioned her time last year in high school at Highland Mills. How does one get from Highland Mills, which is about an hour outside of the city, over to Buffalo State? How did that all happen?
Well, it is like about 6 hours away. I think I just wanted to go far away from home, like new experiences. Kind of exciting to be by myself. So. Well,
you go from 14 million, I don't know how many million are in New York, to 300,000 in Buffalo. That's certainly a new experience.
Yeah.
How did you find her in the recruiting paths?
There are some good websites online, New York Runners. It used to be the Armory site that lists the best times the runners have had over the course of the year. So I sent out some recruiting letters, and Sabrina responded filling out a recruiting questionnaire, and we met at the indoor state meet where she made it in the 1,000, and got to see her run at the outdoor state meet as well. And she came up for a visit and seemed to gel well with the existing girls on the team, and we went from there. And
we should tell people that she's majoring right now in biology, I believe, correct?
Psychology.
Psychology, I'm sorry. You're trying to figure me out.
Yes.
That's right. You had talked a little about your techniques, training techniques, and I'm looking for some insight here. It's not just a matter of meeting the runners in your office and say, go run 7 miles now and try to get faster and have more stamina. What are the techniques involved in cross-country running, as you had mentioned before, trying to get to that point at the end of the season where the championships are?
Well, it starts with putting in a good summer by the athletes. The athletes ask for, and we provide them summer training programs, at least how much mileage they're allowed to do, and those kind of things to try to make sure they're in the right position as the season starts.
Okay.
And then just how we sequence our workouts, where we do things that aren't quite as fast but have shorter rest at the beginning of the year to build strength and stamina, where later in the year we'll be doing more speed stuff to kind of fine-tune things and to make sure they're ready to run their fastest at the end of the year. The body can't really hold that kind of peak for a whole season. So you have to try to focus on 2 or 3 week window and really focus on that to run your fastest at that time.
Do you find as a freshman coming from high school, are the high schools as progressive in this type of thinking, or is this kind of new training to you?
Well, I think every coach tries to think like that, but I think college coaches actually know how to make you like peak the right at the right time.
You had mentioned off camera that I had asked if all the courses were the same. Were they all flat? Were they all hilly? And I'm obviously a novice when it comes to cross-country running. Tell me about the courses. And you had mentioned, well, we're really the champions. SUNYACs are at a hilly course this year.
Yep.
So therefore, your philosophy changes in terms of your technique, correct? And
Yes.
what does that mean?
Well, overall, college courses are a lot flatter than high school courses. I think that's a recruiting trick that college coaches use. If we run on flat courses, our runners run fast times, then people say, wow, look how fast everyone's running. But yeah, this year in our training, we're doing a lot more hills, and our last course had a couple decent hills on it as well, because SUNYACs is at a hilly course, and hoping to get a little edge by having our runners be used to that, be a little bit stronger than other runners, where the NCAA regional is this year. In the past, it's been really muddy, and having the strength to do hills usually translates well to muddy courses as well. So times might not be as fast, but if you're a stronger runner, you can often beat a faster runner on those type of courses.
Interesting. And I'm assuming, although you never want to assume, that nutrition and proper diet is important for, especially obviously for all student athletes, but maybe more so for cross country. Is that true, or is it a normal diet, or are you trying to have more carbohydrates, more liquids? What is your diet like?
Well, I definitely have to stay hydrated, so you always have to drink water. But usually before a race, I always have like pasta for carbos.
Okay.
And then after a workout, I usually have chocolate milk to
Chocolate milk.
like repair my muscles better.
Why chocolate milk?
Well, they've done studies, and they found that all these sports drinks and supplemental drinks and things, that chocolate milk's the most effective way to recover, because it has the right blend of fats, carbohydrates, protein. It's the perfect blend, and it's
about that?
Not a natural food, but a lot more natural than some of the synthetic sports
So I get my
drinks.
Nestle's hot chocolate and my Nestle's chocolate, put it in the water, and I'm going to be a cross country, in the milk, and I'm going to be a cross country runner. Isn't that sounds like a sponsorship to me? We've got about a minute left, but we have not mentioned Arturo Salas, and that's your freshman on the men's side.
Yeah, and
Why
a
don't you-
local person as
and
well
a local
from Hutch
person
Tech.
from Hutch Tech, correct?
Yep.
Why don't you talk about Arturo a little bit?
Well, Arturo had a great season so far. Won the meet last weekend at Penn State Barron. Ran the fastest time in the last 4 or 5 years at the school in 26:21, and basically just sat with the other leaders and then kicked by. We know he can run a lot faster. Yesterday's workout was the first time I think I've seen him tired. He's always hit every time that he's supposed to, because that's the time we gave him, so we keep pushing that limit farther and farther, and finally he wasn't able to run faster on his last repeat than all the other ones yesterday. He still ran them all completely even, but he was actually tired and couldn't do more. So
Interesting.
We're finding those limits, and we definitely know that he's going to have a great season here and on the track.
Wow, what a great future for Buffalo State cross country with 2 freshmen. And Sabrina, thanks for coming on the show. Dustin, thank you. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little volleyball, and Maria DePeters will join us. Stay tuned. Hi, welcome back to Bengal Magazine, everybody. Maria DePeters and Chelsea Moore now join us from women's volleyball. And let's start. It's first time on the show, second show of the season, so we're not missing anything yet. But why don't you give us a little progress report, a little general overview of the team?
The team it's pretty young this year. We have 2 freshmen, 4, 5 sophomores. A couple of them were transfers coming in. We do have 4 juniors and then 1 senior this year.
How does that, having only 1 senior on the team, what does that do for your coaching philosophy going into the year? Now, this is your first full year with the Bengals, first year as head coach. So does it change the philosophy of your coaching style, having just 1 senior? Are you kind of behind the curve on this a little bit?
Having 1 senior is definitely hard, because you always want to have, you don't want to always have a young team. You want to have an experienced team. So looking into next year, also when you're going to have 4 seniors, that's definitely going to be a lot different than how we look at it this year. With 1 senior, you only have 1 person with the most experience on the court. One really go-to leader that has been in this program for 4 years, and so we have to try to bring the freshmen and sophomores up a little bit quicker to try to get to that level.
And yet, 8 of 13 on the roster, I believe, are freshmen and sophomores, and I don't know if those are the same numbers you said, and yet that gives you an opportunity also as a first-year coach to kind of mold them maybe in the way you want them to play.
Definitely. I mean, my coaching techniques and philosophies are a lot different than how this program used to be run. So it's great having those girls come in and I really get to, say, this is how it's going to be, this is what we're going to do, this is how our passing and setting and hitting technique will be. And, those girls are really starting to catch on to it at this point in the season, which is great going into SUNY this weekend.
Well, you have a sophomore who plays like a senior, and that's the lady right next to you, Chelsea. And Chelsea, first of all, you're a libero, which, why don't you tell the viewers exactly what that means?
I'm like the main defensive player, so I only play in the back row. And I'm the one who wears the different colored jersey.
That's right.
And I go in for the middle hitters in the back row, but I don't count as a sub. So, I don't know, it's kind of confusing, but.
Well, not really. I mean, you're the one with the different uniform, and you're usually in the middle, and you're a terrific player at digs. And digs, why don't you explain, let's just assume the viewers aren't sure what a dig is, aren't sure about volleyball. What is a dig?
A dig is when the other team hits at you and you pass the ball up.
Not only do they hit at you, they hit really hard at you.
Yeah,
I mean,
they do.
we have what we call hitters, and there's a reason they're called hitters, because they're usually tall and they usually hit it very hard over the net. Is there, you led the team in digs last year. You are the digger on the team. Is there a technique that goes through your head during a game? Is it position? Is it anticipation? What makes a good digger?
Well, it's both of those things, but mostly you have to watch the ball on the other side, and whoever's hitting it, you have to read them. You have to tell whether they're going to hit it or like where they're going to hit it. So it's about positioning, but it's also about getting to the ball after they hit it and like anticipation. So
and I know there's techniques for digging, but really the optimum point here is any way you can get the ball before it hits the floor, correct?
Yeah.
And that could be sliding a hand underneath it or doing a traditional type dig. And quickness. I would think you'd have to be somewhat quick to be at that position.
The reason why she's in the position that she's in is because she can read the ball the most consistently. She has the best forward movement. So when we say go for the ball, if the ball's landing in front of you, we lead with our platform. We try to get that ball up. And she is the best at the team on that. And she's also just a leader back row. You have to have someone dominating with a strong personality, and Chelsea definitely does that. She leads the back row, and so she's phenomenal.
Well, that's because she's from Kenmore West, They have big personalities
yes,
there. Unlike
definitely.
Kenmore East people.
No.
Kenmore West is where it's all at. Last year as a freshman, that's a little inside joke for everybody. Last year as a freshman, second team All-SUNY. Did that surprise you at all that, to go from high school to college, second team All-Conference, was that a surprise to you?
Yeah, there's a lot of, I don't know. I was really proud of myself.
Sure.
At the end of the year. I didn't expect it, but I don't know. It was really exciting. Was
it a surprise for the coaching staff, that kind of improvement, that kind of play?
I think it definitely was. I think last year was a surprise overall. There's a lot of great liberos out there in our conference, and so I think it was definitely for a surprise that we got nominated for our libero being second team, but her as an athlete, I think that she was right where she needed to be. Yeah, that's fantastic. We're going into SUNY pool play this weekend, Friday at 3 and 5 at the arena, Saturday at 10 and 2, and that means Genesee, Brockport, Fredonia, and Oswego are in town. Yep. What are you looking to do in that pool play? Are you still looking at the young ladies in terms of proper chemistry, or from a coaching standpoint, what are we trying, besides win, obviously, but what else are you trying to do there? I mean, really just, especially for our new athletes, drill into their head that this is the most important part of our season. No matter what's happened before or what is to come, this weekend and our weekend in October are two of the most important parts in our season. And, it comes down to consistency and ultimately who wants to win the game. Who wants the ball, who wants to put it away and make the perfect pass, set, and hit. And that's what we're really trying to drill into their heads this week in practice and just put it all on the court. There's absolutely nothing you can hold back this weekend. Everything just has to be out, left on the court, your whole heart. So.
Well, ladies, I wish you the best of luck this weekend in pool play against SUNY rivals, and thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
That's going to wrap it up for this edition of Bengal Magazine. Thanks to Jerry Boyce and Dustin Dimit and all of our student athletes. And guess what? We're going to see you not in 2 weeks, but 1 week for more Bengal Magazine.